Today I want to take a look at using SharePoint Framework with CICD, Continuous Integration, Continuous Deployment. First thing we're going to do is build a Hello World SPFx web part. Got a local folder here that's empty. We'll do yo at Microsoft/SharePoint. Let that go ahead and initialize. And it does ask us to give it a name of the web part, pick a few settings, use the current folder. Do we want to allow tenant-wide deployment? No JavaScript frame. And after just a couple minutes, our project is created. We can do gulp serve to go ahead and initialize it on localhost and run local. So here's the SharePoint workbench opening on port 4321. Back in the console, we see all the different assets and Webpack being created. We can add the web part, hello world, do a modification, type it works, and we can see that changing on the UI here. We have our SPFx web part running locally. So to put this in a CI/CD scenario, we want to push the code into an Azure Dev Ops repo and then use the continuous integration and continuous deployment to both build and release the software. The build will bundle it all together into SPPKG, and the release will put it into the app catalog of the tenant. So our goal is to take the SPFx web part we have, put it in the CI/CD pipeline with build in the cloud, and deploy to our SharePoint Online tenant. To get there, we'll go through all the instructions and steps we have in this Microsoft article. When we navigate to Azure DevOps, we'll need to create a new project. I'm going to call it SPFx CICD, mark it as private, and click Create. Now we have a new project created. We can go look at the repos. There's no source code yet, but we'll initialize the project with a readme. And from there, we can go ahead and click Clone in the corner and copy the URL. Here we have an empty folder locally. We'll type in git space clone space URL, paste that in. Now that creates a local folder, and we can see the readme file from Azure DevOps. We want to add to that and put a few different things in it with the SPFx artifacts. Now that we've added all of those files, we can go ahead and open the folder with code. If you type code space dot. And here with our source control on the left-hand side, we'll see all of the pending files to commit. We'll go ahead and do a commit followed with a push. That's going to push the code from our local folder up to Azure. And reloading our repository, we now see all of the code for the SPFx web part. And yeah, under source folder, hello world web part, yeah, there we go. That's all the stuff that we just made a minute ago. So we created a project and committed our first. Now under the rocket ship icon over here, we are going to need to create a new build and a new release. So let's go ahead and work on build first. And this is going to come from the classic editor down at the bottom. And we want to use an Azure repo and the master branch. We only have one repo at the moment, so it makes it pretty easy to select. And for template, let's go look at our instructions. There's a couple of options, but for us, we're going to say start with empty. And we're going to work these in one at a time. The first thing is installing Node.js 10. So on the screen for the Azure build, we want to type the word node on the right, do add the node installer, come in here, say 10.x, not 6, but rather 10, and we'll go ahead and put that in. Now we'll add another step, and this is going to be npm install to restore dependencies. So what we're doing is it's going to initialize a container, a virtual machine, just for doing our build. Every time our build runs, it's going to get a brand new environment from scratch. And we can use these templated actions, which kind of turn into command lines in order to get the work of the build process done. So if someone gave you the SPFx code and said, hey, go do a build, what are you going to need? If you got some brand new command line that has no dependencies, well, I'm going to want Node.js first. I want npm install to restore dependencies. Then I want npm test, which is going to be a custom parameter here to run my unit testing. And we'll go ahead and save that with the command line argument of test. Good. By default, SharePoint Framework does not include any testing. We will leverage that in this sample. So here we go back over to our project where SPFx is living, and we're going to install a few extra NPM dependencies. Okay, with those dependencies installed, we're going to go back to the article. It talks about changing the jest file under config folder. So we'll go over to our source config folder. We have a jest config JSON, pretty short. Expand that, make it larger by pasting from the instructions. You need to configure your project, leverage jest when typing commands. Okay, there's two things in the package JSON scripts area. And actually, these are already here. Those are a spot-on perfect match for what we've already got. Finally, you need to modify package JSON to configure the jest JSON unit testing. So it says add these after the scripts property. So, okay, we have scripts, we have jest unit, then we get into dev dependencies. Cool, adding an extra property. This piece is now done. Writing a unit test, we're going to put this in a test folder underneath the web part itself. So source, web parts, by name. We're going to want a new folder called test. Go ahead and spin that up here. Cool. And web part name spec.ts. We'll add a new file. Replace that with hello world for web part name spec.ts. And these specs, these particular tests are pretty easy ones. They always assert to true. They're more of a placeholder. All right, cool. Back over to our pipeline. We're going to add a new publish test results task. So we're going to hit add, come over here to search, find publish test results, stack that up, beautiful. The format is JUnit. Okay, so cool. Yep, display name, right. And set the file to temp test, JUnit. And we need to set the search folder to the sources directory instead of default working. All right, cool. Both of those things are done. Import code coverage information. We're going to want to add a publish code coverage in here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to add another step, search for publish code coverage, adding it in. Now we need to configure it. Configuration parameter summary files for coverage XML. I'm going to bring that over here. Coberta summary file XML. There we go. Perfect. Report directory is sources temp test. Yes. Okay. So pretty close. I mean, here's summary and report. The live system shows a text field in the middle. We can skip. We've got 1, 2, 3. All those things done for code coverage. Excellent. We're going to save our work so far. Go ahead and kind of hang on to what we've got. Now we're going to bundle the solution with a gulp task. So over here, we're going to do add again. We're going to search for gulp, and we're going to add a gulp task. And the description on this will be called gulp bundle. Absolutely. There's gulp file.js. The task is bundle. The argument is -- ship. So we're matching parameters here. Now we need to package the solution. So we're going to come in and add another one. Search for gulp. Good. Go ahead and add that into our listing. Cool. And we'll call this gulp package. And here we have package-solution for the task. So, gulp is for automation. This is the task we're running, and then these are the arguments. So it's always going to be gulp, package solution, ship. It's kind of 1, 2, 3. Middle piece is the task that we're trying to execute. Go ahead and save the work that we've got. Very nice. All right, cool. Next is preparing artifacts. This is going to be a copy files task. We're going to add again, search for copy files. Not the SSH one, just copy files. And the contents is going to be $, SPPKG. All right, cool. And the folder is going to be artifact staging directory drop. Excellent. Save that. Good. Then we're going to publish artifacts. Path to publish will be over here. So we're going to add another step. Publish artifacts. There we go. Publish the build artifacts. And we want to set the path to publish over to that one, and the artifact name to drop. Go ahead and save everything up. Looking pretty good. So that's continuous integration for the build. And we've got that all set up. So we can come over here and we can actually run it manually. And it's interesting, all these different agent choices. I mean, we can use Ubuntu, use anything really. I mean, there's all kinds of different options. We'll go ahead and leave it on the default agent. You know, we're going to change it to Ubuntu. Let's go ahead and do that and then do a run. When we run, we can see the agent queue up with a command line output. It's showing total running time plus time per step. And this is kind of the detail screen. It shows the master branch and the CICD for the source code we're using to do the build process. And every step that completes, it's going to show the header up top here with the active step and the active console, completed durations. A lot of detail, a lot of information. NPM install is a big step, a lot of things to download, tens of thousands of files. That's going to take just a minute. So here, if we go ahead and reload the screen, we will see an error with path not found, BSTS a/drop, so publish artifact step. Okay. Copy artifacts, finish, found 0 files. Interesting. Gulp package created a file at SharePoint solution code.sppkg. Back over in the solution, I can confirm that our name is code.sppkg. And it appears that it did build it because we're seeing that in the gulp package step, but this is good. We're doing a little bit of debugging and testing. The copy step copied nothing. Interesting. Found 0 files. So then the publish step failed because it had nothing to work with. All right, good. If we come back over here and we check out our build process, we go ahead and edit. We can take a look at how the copy command's working, and it's not working. So for this, we may want to do something a little bit different. And I'm going to change away from the instructions to better match what we're seeing happen. Yeah, kind of like that. Over the drop folder. Okay. Good. Excellent. We will save it. And before we queue it, let's go look at our history again. The copy failed with 0 files. Okay, but the package succeeded with SharePoint solution code right here, line 61. That's the good stuff. So if we were to use that for the copy, we should be okay. Come in here and check it out. Back over to edit for our build. And here's our copy, SharePoint solution code SPPKG. I like it. It looks cool. Let's go ahead and queue it up. And yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, process started successfully, and it's on NPM install, downloading all the dependencies. All right, with our new path, we can see that the full process went successfully, and specifically the copy and publish steps are where it got hung up last time. So here we can see it says it uploaded 1 file. Beautiful. So now that we know our build step is working, let's come over here to release. We're going to move further down the instructions, and we're going to look at one of these little flow diagram things. This is the release definition. This is how we deploy. So building in the cloud is a matter of dependencies and bundling and packaging and running unit tests. Okay, fine. Our build process completes, and we have a package. What do we do with that package? Where's it going to go? So on the left-hand side, we work with artifacts. And here we're going to use our CICD with the latest. And this is our source alias. We call it SPFx CICD. Keep it simple. Beautiful. And on the right are the different stages and tasks to follow. Now we have a single file and we're going to a single destination. Basically, this is going to put things into the app catalog, and it's an SPPKG file. That's what we're trying to do, is take that single file and put it into a catalog. Pretty simple. Now, other scenarios, it's entirely possible. You could have multiple inputs. You could have multiple different servers, maybe in different life cycles, and there could be a need based on role to copy some things to all places, maybe other things to only a single destination. The mapping of artifacts to their deployment targets could get pretty complex, which is what this interface allows for. Here, single package file to a single site catalog. So we're going to come over here, take a look at our agent, go back to instructions, and we got our build artifact. That's good. That's good. Here we're going to use the node installer. So we're going to add a new task, very much like the build process, but this is a deployment process. So after we have a build, we need to go put it somewhere. The goal isn't just to make a build and sort of leave it in its own. We need to deploy it. Here we're going to do npm install, and this is going to be a custom npm command. So after loading node, we want to use node package manager npm with a custom step, and we're going to provide the command line to install the Office 365 CLI, command line interface. That's the one we want. Install-G, add to the name. Looks good. Cool. Moving a little further down, connecting to the app catalog, we have a login command here that essentially opens a connection to our tenant. That is part of a command line task, which really means roll your own. Whatever command you'd like to type in, we will execute it verbatim. Following that, we have another one, which is an add app-p, and that's another custom command. So we come over here, we do a search for command line, go ahead and hit add, bring it over to this side, put that down, cool. Package depends on your source, override, okay. And deploying the authentication, final step. Yep, okay. This is app deploy. That one was app add. So we're going to do yet again a third command line. And we'll bring it over here. Cool. Setting the variables for your environment and testing. So over here we have variables. And there's a couple of them that we're going to need. The screenshot's pretty tiny and hard to read, so open it in a new window. A catalog site is one of them, so we'll go ahead and add that variable. All right, so here we filled in the 4 variables to match our instructions. There's our catalog site, a name of our tenant, and then a username password for authentication. On the password, there's a lock icon over here, which is necessary to get the star password masking, so recommend to turn that on. Come back over here to pipeline, looks pretty good. We'll do a save and hit OK. And we're ready to queue it up and run a release. So yeah, we can do create release here. And we'll go ahead and hit create. There it is running. Navigate into it. We can see the artifact is over here, manually triggered. We don't have any schedules or criteria yet. When you hover on the stage, it does show you a cancel or viewing detailed log. And after a moment, it switches to in progress, and it shows you 1 task out of 5 with how many seconds it's running. Now we see task number 3 out of 5 using node 10. We'll click on the word in progress, and it opens up a little bit more of a detailed screen. So we've got initialize, download the build artifact, and then go ahead and create an instance of node 10. All right, and here we see that it failed at command line, the second one. Exit code 1, SPPKG was not found. Makes sense, really, because we didn't change the steps. So if we come back over here and come into releases, hit edit, look at the 5 tasks that are out there. These don't actually have the name of the solution that I'm using. Mine was code.sppkg, and this was different. This was code.sppkg. So we don't have the file name in here, kind of that same way. Yeah, tenant catalog, code.sppkg. Fair enough, it's in there a couple of places. And we could go ahead and take this and make it a token variable, just like $tenant, and that's flowing through from the parent build. For now, we'll leave it as the file name hard-coded. Come back over here to release, and we do need to save what we've got. And then we can do create release with the little rocket icon in the corner. Go ahead and kick off a new release, open full screen. Same input build, same artifact that we are releasing. So the idea of release is to put the artifact somewhere. Build is to create the artifact. Here we can see the deployment failed on the second command line step, which if we go in here is package not found. And this is the add app phase. So we're going to copy that path up to Notepad, hang on to it. That's the one that's not found. If we navigate previous a few steps, we can see that there was a file copied, and it downloaded it locally to that location. There's your difference. These pieces are all the same. Folder name is different. Folder name is different. It should not be SPFx DevOps. So go to release, do an edit, check out the 5 tasks, look at the command lines for a path. There it is. SPFx DevOps should be SPFx CICD. Beautiful. Go ahead and save it. Come back over to release and click the rocket icon to start a new one. We'll open release 3. Check out the diagram. It's queued and ready. Click on the word queued and it opens full screen where we can watch the logging detail. Now here in our build pipeline, watching it, we can see it went further than normal and it made it to this add app step. And it wants us to open a device login web page and enter in the code. I'll put that in, kind of interesting. Some kind of authentication just for the CLI. We'll choose our Microsoft account for PMP Office 365 Management Shell. You have signed in. So back on this side, see if it changes. Yeah, it blinks and moves forward. It did the add app step successfully. This is the farthest we've gotten. And now it's doing the app deploy, and it has the name of the catalog here. All steps succeeded. Duration 2.5 minutes. Very cool. So if we take this link and we go ahead and open a new tab, we go to distribute offices, distribute apps for SharePoint. Here we can see the code client-side solution, code.spfx, and it is enabled, yes, deployed, yes. We're up and running. So this is amazing. What it lets us do is develop a SPFX web part and keep our source code. We're going to do the jest unit test here for a commit and a push. So we can keep our code in a repository that's living in Azure Dev Ops. And as we commit code, we can kick off a build and a release. The CI is the build, the CD is the release. The code repository has the original files, all the history of commits and check-ins, like the jest check-in that I made just now. And after that code is uploaded to the repo, once it's been committed, or even approved via pull request, we can come over here and we can run a build. And then from the build, we can do a deployment. This is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of cool things that this has implications for. So you can be working in your local workbench, working on code changes, and you just go ahead and come over to the source control and do a push. And that will push it all the way into the app catalog. You're pushing to the repo first. The repo kicks up the CI build step, continuous integration, which creates the SPPKG file, the package. From there, the package gets released and installed into your tenant by working through this script here, which has automation steps for Office 365 CLI. And at the end of all of that, you see an updated package in your app catalog. And more importantly, your customers see it across the tenant. Anywhere that someone's using that web part, they're on the latest version. You didn't have to go do anything by hand in the tenant. You didn't have to run some command line processes locally and then navigate for the package file and upload it and all that. Entire thing can be automated. And the timing is quick. You're looking about 2 minutes for the release and about 2 minutes for the build, which is incredible. So yeah, there's a lot of implications of using this. So here we are with the latest release being completed, the latest build. And now we can come over to releases and we can do create release, click create. We're just running the same pipeline again, build first and then release. And by running that through, go ahead and view the status. We are getting email alerts every step. So here we are looking at the email for the successful build, and the release is on its way in the background. This basically says it was manual, there were 2 warnings, which was the most recent commit, any job detail, what time, when did it finish, how long did it run, any of the results on the unit testing. A lot of detail that gets pushed out in that build. And then over here, the release is going next. And here we can look at the release pipeline, fully succeeded, all steps, including the copy. And duration was quick, only a couple minutes. And on our tenant, what we'll be able to see is the final. Yep, so here on our tenant, we can see the final package has been uploaded, enabled yes, deployed yes, and that's what we're going for. So now this is a web part we could add to any page, both classic and modern, because it's done with SPFx web part. So that's the full process of how we can use Azure DevOps to automate the code repository with the build and the release for CICD with SharePoint Framework. Thanks for watching.